This is a commercial-free, streaming-on-demand presentation from Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
Connecting satellite channel 92. Testing satellite download connection. Left channel. Right channel. Channel 92 download connection is now active. Attention affiliates. The Music Blimp begins in 3, 2, 1.
In Vietnam, he was 19.
Science! Here in my car, I feel safest of all.
We've reached our cruising altitude and we're ready to go. Welcome to Saturday Night in New York at WBPM, Saugerties, Kingston, Poughkeepsie. In association with Classic Hits 92.9 and Randman Productions, this is the Music Blimp for the weekend of April 26th, 2008. I'm Randy Turner. We're on coast to coast and online to the planet at WBPM929.com with the new wave and alternative rock of the 80s and beyond. We have 3 birthdays to celebrate tonight and a tall stack of requests to play. And 40 minutes of nonstop new wave rock begins right now, smack dab in the middle of our favorite decade, the 80s. This song was originally the B-side of Like to Get to Know You Well and was later included on the American CD version of his Dream into Action album. From 1985, here's Howard Jones with Bounce Right Back on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
The Music Blimp is on. Classic Hits 92.9. Featuring the great new wave and alternative rock of the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s. There's never been a radio show like this one before, but now you've got it. Right here on Classic Hits 92.9.
By request for Paulina in Red Hook, playing an old 45 here on the Music Blimp. That's a European one-hit wonder group called Style with Telephone. I'm Randy Turner. You're listening to the Music Blimp, and you picked a great time to tune in. We're rolling through 40 minutes of nonstop new wave and alternative rock. This is something we do every Saturday night. No other radio station has this music anymore. We've still got it, and if you've got a request, you can send it to musicblimp at WBPM929.com. This was the second single released from General Public's 1984 debut album, All the Rage. Here's Ranking Roger, Dave Wakeling, and all the boys they recruited from other bands with Never You Done That on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9.
Classic Hits 92.9. Delivering the most music variety to your radio every Saturday night. The Music Blimp is on. Classic Hits 92.9.
Michael Hutchins wrote that, and it was the last top 10 single for INXS from their 1990 album X, That's Disappear. Thank you for listening to the Music Blimp tonight. Help me spread the word about the show. We do it every Saturday from 8 to 10 for people who know that other radio stations all sound the same and you want something different. And you remember these songs from the early days of MTV, don't you? I know we certainly do around here. It's something different and unique for you every weekend. You know, it's not often the 2 people in a band have the same family name and aren't related. Ted Ottaviano and Susan Ottaviano formed Book of Love in Pennsylvania back in '84. From their self-titled 1986 album, here's one of their biggest hits, You Make Me Feel So Good. This is Book of Love on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
So good. We haven't forgot about the great new wave and alternative rock hits of the late 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s. And now, they're all right here. This is the Music Blimp with Randy Turner from Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM remembers 1983. The album is Japanese Whispers. It's Robert Smith and The Cure with The Walk. Robert James Smith formed The Cure in 1976. He's been called pop culture's poster child of doom and gloom. He still wears the makeup. He describes his songs as somber introspection. He is a multi-talented performer, though. Not only does he sing, he plays guitar, bass guitar, flute, double bass, keyboard, and violin. And he celebrated his birthday this week, so here's another one of his hits with The Cure from their 1987 album, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Here's How Beautiful You Are on the Music Blimp. Happy birthday to Robert Smith.
We've blown the dust off the great new wave and alternative rock of the 80s and beyond. This is the Music Blimp with Randy Turner from Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
By request for Alan and Poughkeepsie, that's New Order with the song from May of 1985. Love Vigilantes is from their third album, Low Life. This is the Music Blimp from Classic Hits 92.9, your weekly dose of new wave rock from the 80s. And for those of you who appreciate many genres of 80s music, we've got the Rockin' 80s with Xander tomorrow from 5 till 7. Colleen in Saugerty sent me a really nice email this week. She's been listening for a few weeks now and loves the Music Blimp. She had a long list of songs she hasn't heard on the radio for a while. This is one of them. Brian Ferry was the lead singer of Roxy Music for quite a few years. He went solo in the mid-80s. In 1985, he released the album Boys and Girls. This was the first single, Slave to Love. Here's Brian Ferry by request for Colleen on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM. That was new music from Brian Ferry back in 1985. By request, it's Slave to Love from the Boys and Girls album. We are back in time with the new wave and alternative rock of the 80s and beyond. I'm Randy Turner, the Ran Man. Hey, if you're listening for the first time tonight, let me welcome you to the Music Blimp. And if you've missed the artist or groups of any of the songs we've played so far tonight, to some of you, these may be new songs you've never heard before. You can find out what they are by going to the website, WBPM929.com. Click on the link up on top for what's played. Now, while you're there, there's a page for the Music Blimp. And we post the last 2 editions of the show every week. So if you've missed recent editions of the Music Blimp, you can stream them on demand commercial free at WBPM929.com. 45 minutes of nonstop new wave rock kicks off in just minutes with Missing Persons, Benjamin Orr of the Cars, Echo and the Bunnymen, Elvis Costello. And we've got 2 more birthday celebrations coming up.
There's more of the Music Blimp with Randy Turner coming up from Classic Hits 92.9.
And now, Randy Turner kicks off a super long 45-minute music sweep. You're listening to the Music Blimp from Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
That is Yazoo on the Music Blimp. The Classic Hits 92.9. Don't Go is from their debut album, Upstairs at Eric's. Vince Clarke and Alison Moyet are back together for a concert tour. I believe it's going on now, and it ends in New York City in July. They also have a 4-disc box set coming out very soon in May with newly remixed copies of their 2 albums, B-sides, also alternative versions of the songs, and a DVD is all part of that box set. I'm Randy Turner. You're listening to the Music Blimp with new wave and alternative rock hits of the 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s. And for those of you who are long-time new wave rock fans, it's good to have you along tonight. We're so glad you found the show. And if you're listening for the first time, welcome. Their self-titled 5th album was their last release with Sire Records. They broke up shortly after this came out in 87. This is Ian McCulloch and Echo and the Bunnymen with Bedbugs and Ballyhoo on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
Live from midair to the entire planet, this is the Music Blimp with Randy Turner from Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
That's Terry and Dale Bozio of Missing Persons with words from their 1982 album, Spring Session M. The Music Blimp is on. We are Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM. I'm Randy Turner, the Ran Man. Raymond Burns is the singer and guitar player who was musically active in the 70s and the 80s. I think he still dabbles today. But in the 90s, he created his own new political party in the UK called the Blah Party, designed to appeal to protest voters. They have a strange sense of culture and humor over there in the UK. Mr. Burns is best known around the world as Captain Sensible. He celebrated his birthday on Thursday, and this is a huge hit he released in 82 called What on the Music Blimp. Happy birthday to Robert Captain Sensible Burns from Classic Hits 92.9.
Turner's Music Blimp, live from midair to the entire planet on WBPM, Socrates, Kingston, Poughkeepsie, New York. This is Classic Hits 92.9.
It's great to have you along. Every Saturday night we play super long sets of great new wave and alternative rock of the 80s and beyond. If you've got a request, I'd love to play it for you. Send it to Music Blimp at WBPM929.com. We're in the middle of 45 minutes of classic new wave rock right now. This is the title track of a German band's debut album. The album version of this song was a real soft acoustic ballad. That one wasn't a hit, but this club version quickly rocketed up the charts, and it's still getting played in clubs in Europe today. It's a big anthem for the new wave generation from back in 1984. Here's Forever Young from Alphaville on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
This is a super long 45-minute music sweep on the Music Blimp with Randy Turner from Classic Hits 92.9.
They fought the longest war in American history.
That's politically driven new wave rock from 1985. It's 19 from Paul Hardcastle, featuring samples from legendary TV narrator Peter Thomas speaking about the Vietnam War and veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Hardcastle didn't ask for permission to use Peter's voice on the song, but Thomas agreed to let him release the song anyway, and it went to number 1 in 13 countries. Paul Hardcastle is working on a new DVD that's going to be released in the fall. I'm Randy Turner. You're listening to the Music Blimp with classic new wave and alternative rock hits of the 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s. One of the things I love about the new wave era of the 80s is that there were so many different styles of music: rock, pop, dance, acoustic performances, and some I don't quite know how to describe. This is one of those songs. A one-hit wonder group from England from 1985. This is Seconds of Pleasure with Pull Me Up on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
Save me.
The Music Blimp is on Classic Hits 92.9, featuring the great new wave and alternative rock of the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s. There's never been a radio show like this one before, but now you've got it right here on Classic Hits 92.9.
He was born Benjamin Orzechowski, but people know him better as Benjamin Orr of the Cars. It's a song from his only solo album back in 1986, a tune called Hold On from the album The Lace. Ben's not with us anymore. He died in 2000, but his music lives on because of shows like this one. And this program is called The Music Blimp from Classic Hits 92.9, where we spend 2 hours every Saturday night playing the great new wave and alternative rock of the 80s and beyond. Now, here's the thing for you. If you've missed the last 2 editions of the show, we post them online on our website. You can listen to them anytime with commercial-free streaming on demand. Go to WBPM929.com and click on the Music Blimp. If you look up in the sky, you might notice Major Tom. You might have to look carefully. No, I'm kidding. Major Tom is actually a fictional astronaut originally created by David Bowie in 1969. Now, Bowie told about Major Tom's departure from Earth. Everything was going great until he lost contact with ground control. Then in Ashes to Ashes, Bowie gave us an update on Major Tom and said he's now a junkie strung out on heaven's high. And the story was continued a few years later by German synth-pop musician Peter Michael Schilling on his 1983 album Error in the System. So here's the update. Major Tom is about to end his life willingly and say goodbye to Mission Control. Here's Peter Schilling on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9.
The Music Blimp is on Classic Hits 92.9, featuring the great new wave and alternative rock of the late 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s.
Showing up in neighborhoods all over the place. By request for Morris and New Paltz, it's New York City synth pop from 1981. The group is Our Daughter's Wedding with their biggest hit, Lawn Chairs. I'm Randy Turner. This is the Music Blimp with a hearty dose of classic new wave rock every Saturday night from 8 to 10. Great to have you along. And another super long set of new wave rock is coming up with Elvis Costello, The Police, House Martins by request, a forgotten 45 from the Music Blimp archives from Bill Nelson, and a twin spin for somebody who celebrated a birthday this week.
The Music Blimp is on with more great new wave hits coming up from Classic Hits 92.9.
It's Saturday night, and we're back in time with the new wave hits from the late 70s, 80s, and the early 90s. The Music Blimp is on Classic Hits 92.9.
If you're listening for the first time tonight, welcome. Nice to have you along. So glad you found us. Every week people are telling me they're discovering great old songs because of the Music Blimp right here at Classic Hits 92.9. So glad I could do this show for you. I have loved this group since I heard their first single 22 years ago. Man, has it been that long? Oh, man, it seems like just yesterday. These guys are from a small town called Hull over in the UK. Paul Heaton and the House Martins were an alternative rock band that mixed Marxist politics and Christianity into their music. Now, this song was on their debut album, London 0 Hull 4, but this alternative version was featured on their greatest hits CD, Now That's What I Call Quite Good, from September of 1988. Here's Think for a Minute from the House Martins on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
Live from midair to the entire planet, this is the Music Blimp with Randy Turner from Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
I'm a real wild one. Wild one. Wild one.
That's a song from the movie Pretty Woman and also from his 1986 album Blah, Blah, Blah. James Newell Osterberg Jr., better known as Iggy Pop, with Real Wild Child. Now, Iggy is often called the godfather of punk, and he celebrated his birthday this week, so here's another one of his big hits. It's a song you've heard over and over on TV for the last 7 or 8 years in commercials for Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. This is the title track of his 1977 album, which has a solid Motown-style drum line that Iggy and David Bowie stole from the Supremes record. Yeah! They were ripping stuff off back then. Here's Lust for Life from Iggy Pop on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM. Happy birthday, Iggy.
This is the Music Blimp from Classic Hits 92.9.
By request for Gwen and Millbrook, it's Elvis Costello from 1979 with Green Shirt on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM. It's your weekly dose of new wave rock from the 80s and beyond. For those of you who appreciate many genres of great 80s music and you want a dose of harder rock, Xander's coming in tomorrow afternoon from 5 till 7 with the Rockin' 80s right here at Classic Hits 92.9. Well, this is a British rock band that formed in 1981 and didn't have a big hit until the title track of their 1993 album was released as a single. American college radio stations played this a lot, and it was featured in the American Pie movies. Here's the band James with Laid on the Music Blimp at Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM.
The new wave hits of the late 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s are on every Saturday night right here at Classic Hits 92.9.
From the Music Blimp archives, Classic Hits 92.9 remembers 1982 with Bill Nelson and Automatic by request for Cheryl in Cairo, New York. Told you to get that one on for you. But we are out of time and coming in for a landing, so that'll do it for this week's edition of the Music Blimp. Happy birthday to Robert Smith of The Cure, Iggy Pop, and Captain Sensible. And thank you for all the great music. Now, if you missed last Saturday night's show, you can stream it on demand anytime you want by visiting WBPM929.com and clicking on the banner for the Music Blimp. Tonight's show will be available Monday afternoon, and you can help me plan next weekend's show by sending your song suggestions to musicblimp at WBPM929.com. Thank you for listening tonight. Join me again next Saturday from 8 to 10 as we broadcast live from midair to the entire planet with more great new wave rock hits back to back on the Music Blimp. I'm Randy Turner, the Ran Man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll be looking for you around town. Good night.
The Music Blimp is a presentation of Ran Man Productions in association with Classic Hits 92.9 WBPM, Saugerties, Kingston, Poughkeepsie, New York.